I'm in the comment section. I'm going back and forth with an audience member about this exclusivity thing and how it doesn't help games on the PlayStation and Xbox ecosystems. It really doesn't. And, after much talking and much, I don't know, man, back and forth and asking for data and asking for numbers, I'm just going to give two reasons why exclusivity on PlayStation and Xbox is bogus. Number one, remasters. Remasters are a way for them to make more money on the exact same game. If the game had actually sold to their satisfaction, why are they basically making a different version of the game to sell to the same exact audience? That's exactly why remasters pretty much debunk this entire conversation of exclusivity actually being valuable to a console. It's only for people who are prone to FOMO. If FOMO of such a nature is a person's business strategy, in a sense, then they can only go so long with it because apparently the FOMO ain't really working as much. Hence, they concede and make a remaster or make a PC port. That's literally the concession that says exclusives are not good enough for me on my ecosystem. If you need any other argument about exclusivity and this one doesn't necessarily convince you, then I don't think you probably get it. It's just a reality. Or maybe you are just steeped into your own belief system and you're not necessarily interested in understanding what the reality is. And you just want to believe what it is that you say or claim that you believe. That's it. And that's just one reason. The second one is their workforce gutting that happens whenever they spend all this money making these games. If the games had probably sold and beaten expectations, then there's a likelihood that they would not need to pressure their studios to go ahead and reduce their workforce. Do y'all remember in 2023, December 21st, 2023, where we got that leak, right? That Insomniac, got hacked and all of that stuff. And we found out that Sony was reportedly pressuring its studios to make big cuts amid increasing development costs. Do y'all remember? And then if you also go ahead and remember, just around this same time, Insomniac was over here posturing and telling us in February of 2024 that, all these layoffs, like several other teams across Sony Interactive Studios, Insomniac Games was impacted by yesterday's layoffs. There are no sufficient words to express our feelings about it. This is a solemn and unprecedented moment for our studio. Homie, go sell games on platforms that people are going to buy those games, and you won't need to sit here and posture when internally your studio or your publisher or your head is telling you, cut people off so that we can basically not bleed dry. It's a brutal world, this whole game development thing. And I think I see that some fans are not looking at the reality and the troubles and the problems. Even Xbox, with all their money and no exclusivity, also reduced their workforce in the gaming industry, according to them, based on redundancy in those cases. And even in the case where sales did not make it, like with Redfall's Arcane Austin developer, that studio got closed down. So what is the point for exclusivity if you are in the PlayStation and the Xbox ecosystem? What is the point? If the studios cannot confidently, bank on the fact that they're going to sell these games, and then at the end of the day, they go make a remaster or a remake, or they port it to PC and pretend like they're not going to move the game to Xbox because they're superior. It's all a ruse, guys. Do you not see it? I'm just wondering, are you not looking behind the curtain? And so when I see people arguing about this whole thing, exclusivity has some merit in the whole gaming conversation, they're good for games, and some of them start pointing to Nintendo, like this audience member of mine over here, I'm like, bro, have you looked around PlayStation's ecosystem? Have you looked around Xbox's ecosystem? Have you seen the games that people are always playing? These two things by themselves should already make the case and tell you that these exclusive games, they're not in any way healthy for this particular platform in terms of the software side. If all they're doing with it is to make you buy their platform so that the third-party games can make them more 30%, I guess. But how is that a sustainable business when they spend all this money and they have to freak out and say, hey, we got to cut costs. Hey, we got to reduce workforce. Hey, we got to make a remaster. Hey, we got to port to another platform. It's kind of weird. Now, let's insert Nintendo and see the contrast and the difference. Do y'all see that? There's a huge difference. Nintendo is not trying to go ahead and, cut all these workers and lay off all these folk. Nintendo is not over here basically, talking about how they need an aggressive push to the PC platform. Nintendo, they may be remastering their games. They got into hot water for that one. But they're not feeling the exact same effects that PlayStation and Xbox are feeling. And so when I hear people actually try to talk about Nintendo, I'm like, you're not Nintendo. Like, if you're a PlayStation fan or if you're an Xbox fan, you're not Nintendo. Stop it. Like, know your place. When it comes to exclusives, like, I'm just going to say it. PlayStation as a publisher of exclusives and Xbox as a publisher of exclusives compared to Nintendo are peasants. Nintendo's got exclusivity down, but Nintendo has an advantage in the sense that its ecosystem is way closed compared to the other two. The other two love the third-party dealings. Don't get me wrong. It's good because when they're still cooking their games and other people are releasing games, they get 30%. But Nintendo is willing to wait and slow burn. And then when the 100% comes in terms of, sales and their costs being low, it's insane margins. All these companies that want to rush themselves to the Nintendo ecosystem, the reason I think and I laugh, at how Nintendo was still going to benefit from this is because they're all going to be breaking their backs to put their games on this Switch 2 console. That's basically not even PS4 level of power. While Nintendo is just going to sit there and still spend very minimal money just to develop on their own ecosystem and still sell a ton of, their games. Even if they sell less because of competition, they still make way more money by what they're going to make from their games than the 30%. While these companies are basically just hemorrhaging cash just so they can get into the Nintendo ecosystem. Trend chasing. It may work out. It may pay off. It may not pay off. But Hogwarts Legacy, I think it paid off for them when they were able to get their game to the regular Switch. So these other companies are going to try it. But after all that back-breaking Hogwarts Legacy did in terms of getting ports everywhere, they sold 25 million units. Whereas Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, without moving anywhere else, they easily sold way more than that. So y'all are not Nintendo. None of these third-party publishers out there, except for Take-Two and a few that can click that 30 million, with what in some cases ease or in some cases a lot of work. Or your Activision. It's either one of those few that can clock that many in terms of sales, but not anybody else. Not Spider-Man, no. Without remasters and without porting to other platforms, they ain't doing 30 million, not in this market. Not in this live service saturated market, they're not. And it's this reality, ladies and gentlemen, that people need to come to terms with. That's pretty much it. Sometimes it's weird to make a video like this, sometimes out of like just, pure, I don't know. I guess I get tired, at the same time because you're trying to say something that is apparent to everyone, but some people choose to just not hear it because they're more grounded in what it is that they want to believe rather than what actually is. You hear people saying, well, this game it sold a lot of copies, but then you don't realize that the next game is about to cost almost everything that you would call profits from what that game made because of how expensive it is. Oh, the game made all this money, but then the next game is going to cost them $300 million. How much did the first game make again? $500 million? Well, $200 million, what is that going for? They got to take care of other things. They got to put money in the bank. So where are they going to get more of those sales from? Oh, we made it exclusive because our platform is this, but you're asking where you're going to get more money from because you want to, position and look like you got exclusives. It's a ruse. Wake up. I hope people wake up and see that, okay, sure, enjoy exclusives, but if you're going to talk about it from a business perspective, it's a facade, man. Peace out.